can all mortgages be used for shared ownership, for a shared ownership property, for example?
No, not all banks and building societies will lend on shared ownership, in the same way not all banks and building societies will lend on buy-to-let or various other schemes. So no, but there are still a healthy number of them. That's where going to a broker like us, who specialise in it, who know all of the lenders and all of the options that are available to you, is important. And understanding the differences between the different rates that are available. There's reasons why so many lenders offer 95% mortgages. It's because they'll all have their own little aspects that might suit you or might not. So it's really, as with all mortgages, that part doesn't differ. You really must look for advice, and my advice, understandably, I'm a broker, so I'm going to say this, but I believe it anyway, is to speak to a broker, speak to somebody that can work on behalf of all of banks and building societies to give you the best view. But as I say, with shared ownership, there are a smaller number of lenders that will offer shared ownership, but it's not so small that it's restrictive.
I think just to echo that, I think we get a lot of customers, that kind of say, oh, I've spoke to, my uncle Dave's cousin who's a broker, and that's great. But equally, this is a specialist skill. There's a lease involved, there's advice involved that probably isn't involved in open market mortgages, and it's really important to seek the advice of those specialised brokers, because they also understand what we as providers need from them as a broker. They also understand the processes of all we've just spoken about around how people get matched with properties, and how important that sustainable affordability calculator is, rather than just kind of punching some numbers in and not understanding how the product works in years to come. So it really is important, and the beauty of the specialised broker is that they have access to whole of market. I lose count of the amount of times I still now, decades into this, hear people say, well, there aren't any lenders in shared ownership, and there is nothing further from the truth. And I think when you go to probably the smaller panelled brokers or the smaller elements that don't deal with this on a regular basis, then that's a perception that suddenly becomes a reality for people, which is wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I champion the advice and urge people to seek independent financial advice and go into people like Kelly. We conduct our own survey at Pepper Money into the adverse credit market, and one of the things that we found consistently through all of the studies we've done, and I think we've done 4 now, is that probably half of the customers that we surveyed and interviewed would think to seek independent financial advice from a mortgage broker when it came to getting a mortgage. First place they'd go to is family and friends, and sort of seek their opinions and what they should do, and try and take advice from family and friends. And of course, that's not terribly helpful, in scenarios such as this, which are definitely more specialists. And
I think there's the family and friend advice, of course, that you need when buying a home. Buying a home is an emotional decision, and family and friends are always going to form part of it, because that's always been the way. But when you start getting into financial products and what you can afford, and especially while we're in these ever-changing times of we don't know what the economy's doing, specialised brokers, they're specialised for a reason. We work with them for a reason, because they allow us to navigate our risk, and they allow us, it's much wider than the right advice. For us, it gives me the confidence to be able to say to our boards, yes, keep developing for shared ownership, because we're getting the right level of lenders in, the right level of take up. So it's so important. If you had a broken leg, you'd go to the hospital, wouldn't you? You wouldn't ask your mum if she could wrap it up for you. So I think it's really important, especially in this time where we don't know what's going to happen with the economy moving forward. I can't champion it enough.